Have you ever felt that sting, the one that hides behind a smile, a tone, a joke that cuts a little too deep? Disrespect rarely announces itself. It moves quietly, like smoke seeping through the cracks of your calm. One moment you brush it off, telling yourself it's nothing. The next, you realize something has shifted, not in them, but in you. Your silence has been mistaken for surrender. Your patience has been read as weakness, and without meaning to, you've taught them that your dignity is negotiable. I've watched this play out in boardrooms, families, friendships, the same silent erosion of self-respect. The Stoics warned that what you tolerate becomes your teacher. Every time you let a boundary blur, the world learns how to treat you. Respect, they said, isn't demanded or begged for. It's enforced through calm strength and unshakable composure. So ask yourself, how many small cuts have you ignored in the name of peace? And what has that peace truly cost you? Stay with me. Today, we'll uncover the darker, quieter way to reclaim what you've lost. As we step into the first chapter, imagine a moment when the air between two people goes still, words stop, eyes lock. The silence itself becomes the battlefield. You've just been tested, not with a shout or a blow, but with a smirk, a tone, a small jab meant to see what you'll do. Most people rush to fill that silence, to explain, to defend, to prove they're unshaken. But every unnecessary word chips away at something sacred, your self-command. Silence, when born of fear, weakens you. You stay quiet because you don't know how to respond, because your heart is pounding and your mind is racing to make sense of what just happened. You tell yourself you're being calm, that you're taking the high road. But what you're really doing is bleeding power in real time. Those who disrespected you can feel it, the unease, the shrinking, the internal scramble. That kind of silence is not peace, it's surrender dressed as restraint. Yet there's another kind of silence, colder, heavier, deliberate. The Stoics understood it as mastery of one's inner citadel. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Strategic silence is not the absence of reaction, it's the presence of command. It's when you look directly into the eyes of the offender, calm as stone, while your mind observes, calculates, waits. You're not retreating, you're measuring. You're deciding whether this person is even worthy of your energy. Picture this. You're in a group conversation. Laughter flows, voices overlap, and someone, maybe out of arrogance, maybe out of insecurity, makes a joke at your expense. Everyone laughs. The natural instinct is to laugh along, to smooth it over, to pretend you don't care. But deep inside, you do care, because disrespect left unchecked always grows. Now imagine instead that you say nothing. No forced smile, no defensive remark, just silence, still, unflinching. You meet their eyes without a single expression. The laughter begins to fade, the air thickens, and one by one, people realize something shifted. The joke no longer feels funny. The offender senses it first, that they've crossed a line they cannot name. They stumble to justify themselves, to fill the space you've left open. But it's too late. You've turned their own words into a mirror, and now they must face their reflection. That's the art of strategic silence. It's the same composure that Marcus Aurelius wrote about when he said, "Be like the rock against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." The insult, the jab, the provocation, they are the waves. Your silence is the rock. It doesn't react, it absorbs the impact, and in doing so reveals who truly has control. People fear silence more than conflict. They'll tolerate anger, even mockery, but silence, true, intentional silence, unsettles them. It's because silence removes their script. It takes away their expected rhythm, and suddenly they are standing in the echo of their own disrespect. You've denied them the satisfaction of reaction. You've shown them, wordlessly, that you are not moved. But remember this: not all silence is stoic. If it's driven by hurt, it will show. If it's powered by pride, it will crumble. The silence of a Stoic is not about pretending you're above pain. It's about standing still long enough to let your reason catch up with your emotion. It's about mastering your first impulse so that your next move is precise. Seneca once wrote, "He who has injured you was either stronger or weaker. If weaker, spare him. If stronger, spare yourself." That's what silence does. It spares you from needless entanglement, from the petty dance of ego that pulls so many into regret. When you respond to disrespect with noise, you descend into the same chaos you wish to rise above. When you respond with controlled silence, you stay where power actually lives, in composure. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. There was a time when every insult pulled me into battle. Every challenge became a fight for dignity. I thought silence meant defeat. But all it did was make me predictable. People knew they could summon my anger at will. They controlled me without lifting a finger. The day I stopped explaining, stopped defending, and started observing, everything changed. The moment I learned to look someone in the eye and simply not respond, the balance of power shifted. My calm became their discomfort. My stillness became their lesson. Because silence, when wielded with clarity, doesn't just end a moment, it rewrites it. It leaves others questioning their own behavior, their own tone, their own motives. You never told them they were wrong. You never raised your voice. Yet something inside them whispers that they went too far. That whisper is your presence echoing in their conscience. Silence, in its highest form, is not retreat. It's a declaration. It says, "I am not moved by noise. I am not yours to provoke." In a world drowning in reactions, the man who can wait, who can pause without trembling, is dangerous because he cannot be controlled. Silence becomes your armor. Your restraint becomes their unease. So the next time someone tests you with mockery or disrespect, resist the urge to defend. Let the silence breathe for you. Stand still. Observe. Let them face what they've done without your help. Their discomfort is not your burden. It's their awakening. In Stoicism, this is called governing the self, the foundation of all strength. The goal isn't to win the argument, it's to preserve your center. The one who rules his emotions rules every room he walks into. And when the world grows loud, when disrespect comes disguised as humor or condescension, remember this: words reveal impulse, but silence reveals mastery. The calm man terrifies those who thrive on chaos because he cannot be drawn into it. So practice this art in small moments. When someone makes a careless remark, pause. Let them feel the weight of their own words. When someone tries to bait you into defending your worth, stay still. Your silence is not weakness. It's proof that your value no longer depends on their recognition. Because silence, when born from inner strength, speaks louder than any defense. It commands respect without demanding it. It unsettles without aggression, and it teaches a truth few ever learn, that the most powerful voice in the room is often the one that doesn't need to speak. From this point on, let your quiet become your signal. Let your stillness do the talking. The world will notice, and so will those who once mistook your calm for weakness. Moving into the second chapter, imagine the quiet erosion that happens when someone decides to bend just once. A small exception, a single moment of weakness. It seems harmless at first, a shrug, a laugh, a silent pass. But that single moment plants a seed in the minds of others. Your boundaries are negotiable. From that point on, every test becomes easier for them and harder for you. People rarely destroy their power in one dramatic collapse. They lose it in fragments. In every moment they say yes when they mean no. In every instance they let something small slide because it's not worth it. But everything worth protecting begins with the small things. Respect fades like water through cracks, not all at once, but slowly, patiently, until the structure within you begins to give way. Here's where most people fail. They think a single act of strength defines them. They stand tall once, draw a line once, speak up once, and expect the world to remember. But the world forgets. The Stoics taught that virtue is not a moment, but a habit. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You become what you do repeatedly." If you are firm one day and yielding the next, you are teaching people not your words, but your pattern. Human nature is like running water. It always moves toward the path of least resistance. If your boundaries have gaps, they will find them. If your standards are flexible, they will stretch them. When people realize your principles bend with your mood, they will test you on the days they sense your weakness. And they will win, not through strength, but through persistence. Consistency is the armor of the disciplined. It's not the grand gesture that earns respect, but the repeated act of calm enforcement. Not once, not twice, always. When someone interrupts you mid-sentence and you pause every single time to let them finish before you resume, you are teaching them something powerful. That your voice does not compete, it commands space. When someone mocks you and your face remains still, neither wounded nor amused, you send a message. You are not an easy mark. When someone tries to unload their storms into your calm and you reply, "I can see you're troubled, but this isn't the right time," without anger, without guilt, you remind them that your peace is not a public space. This is not cruelty, it's clarity. People can relax around you when they know where the edges are. They don't have to guess what's acceptable or not. Predictability breeds security. Inconsistency breeds chaos. The man who sometimes tolerates disrespect and sometimes erupts in anger is a storm people avoid or exploit. The man whose response is steady and unwavering commands quiet respect wherever he goes. Let me tell you something I learned years ago. There was a colleague who tested everyone. Subtle remarks, small interruptions, jokes that cut. Most ignored him, hoping he'd get bored. I didn't. Each time I stopped speaking and looked at him until the silence grew heavy. Every time he made a sarcastic comment, I gave it the same treatment. No laughter, no retaliation, just stillness. Over time, the jokes stopped. Not because I fought harder, but because he learned that there was no reward in crossing me. Consistency had done what confrontation could not. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." The freedom he spoke of was not from the world, but from the instability within. The one who enforces his own principles calmly and consistently is not bound by the moods of others. He acts, not reacts. He decides, not drifts. Consistency is the quiet courage of those who refuse to betray themselves. Most people think compassion means flexibility. It doesn't. True compassion is teaching others the truth of consequence. When your response is steady, people learn quickly. They stop testing not because you punish them, but because they understand what happens next. Predictability breeds caution, and caution breeds respect. But here's the challenge. You can't apply consistency only to the obvious insults. It must reach the smallest gestures, the rolling eyes, the dismissive tone, the careless lateness that whispers, "Your time doesn't matter." Every time you respond with calm firmness, you reinforce your worth. Every time you ignore it, you erode it. At first, people will call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of being distant. Don't mistake that for failure. It's a sign that your boundaries are starting to work. You are no longer easy to access, and those who relied on your inconsistency will feel it first. Let them. In time, the ones who respect structure will find peace in your steadiness, and the ones who thrived on chaos will drift away. Both outcomes are victories. The Stoics understood that peace comes from order, not from indulgence. The mind that knows its own rules does not suffer confusion. The heart that enforces its standards does not attract disrespect. You cannot claim serenity while living in contradiction. The outer world mirrors your inner one. If your responses are uncertain, your life will be too. So start small. Pick one area where you've allowed disrespect to live. It might be constant interruptions. It might be lateness. It might be someone's tone when they speak to you. Whatever it is, decide today how you will respond every single time. No exceptions, no emotional variations, just disciplined repetition. The first few times will feel unnatural, but soon it becomes who you are, steady, reliable, quietly formidable. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." You could add one more. If it disrespects your worth, do not allow it, not even once. Because every time you hold your line, you reinforce your strength. Every time you make an exception, you weaken it. And when the day comes that people can predict your reaction, calm, clear, unwavering, they will start correcting themselves before you ever have to. That is the power of relentless consistency. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it reshapes how the world treats you. Not through force, but through presence. Hold your standard every time, without apology, without exception. The world will adjust, and from that steadiness you'll move into a deeper strength, one that no test can shake. Moving into the third chapter, imagine a moment when someone throws words like tiny blades in your direction. A smirk, a jab disguised as humor, a tone that cuts but leaves no visible wound. The room watches, waiting for your response. This is where most people lose themselves, in the rush to prove, defend, or retaliate. But the Stoic doesn't play that game. He stands still. He doesn't mirror disrespect. He reflects it back as consequence, because here's the truth. When someone disrespects you, your response should never match their offense. It should surpass it, not in anger or cruelty, but in clarity. Seneca once wrote, "He who does wrong to himself." The goal isn't to hurt them. The goal is to teach them silently that crossing you has a cost. An ordinary reaction fades, a calculated one echoes. Think of this. A man mocks you in public, expecting laughter at your expense. The room joins in, a chorus of easy amusement. The old version of you might laugh along, maybe throw a line back to balance the sting, but not now. You look him in the eye and simply say, "That wasn't funny." Then you turn away. No drama, no effort to win the crowd. In that quiet refusal to play, you win something greater, their respect. The laughter dies. The air shifts. They'll remember that moment long after the joke is forgotten. Or perhaps you don't say anything at all. You stand, excuse yourself, and leave the space altogether. You deny them access to your energy. That silence, that absence, becomes the consequence. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't fight. Yet they feel the chill of your withdrawal long after the room warms again. That's how the Stoic responds. Not through noise, but through presence. Here's why it works. Most people expect either submission or rage. One invites further disrespect. The other invites chaos. Both are predictable. But when you respond with measured coldness, when your reaction is neither fight nor flight, but calm withdrawal, you introduce something they can't prepare for: accountability. You disrupt their pattern. You hold up a mirror, and suddenly they see themselves clearly for the first time. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. To respond proportionally is to stay on their level. To respond disproportionately with calm, deliberate consequence is to remind them that you live by a higher order. A person who once treated you carelessly will find themselves thinking of your restraint days later. They'll replay it in their mind, wondering how they lost their grip. That discomfort is your lesson, doing its work." Let me show you this in smaller ways. Someone constantly interrupts you during a meeting. Instead of fighting for space, you fall silent. You stop engaging when they speak. They eventually realize they've lost your attention, and that's no small loss. Someone you know habitually arrives late. Instead of scolding or joking about it, you stop inviting them. When they finally notice and ask why, your calm answer, "I assumed you were busy." You often have other priorities, lands harder than any argument could. You're not punishing. You're calibrating. You're teaching them how to interact with you by controlling the outcome. You're saying, "My time is not free. My energy is not endless. My presence is not guaranteed." When you make your boundaries felt rather than spoken, people learn faster. This isn't about being feared. It's about being remembered. Stoicism is not cruelty dressed as wisdom. It's measured consequence in service of harmony. You're not out to make others suffer. You're out to make them aware. And awareness, when it comes through silence and steadiness, leaves a lasting mark. Most people think they'll gain respect by arguing, explaining, or defending their worth. But respect never grows in noise. It grows in contrast, in the space between their chaos and your calm. The man who remains unshaken in the face of provocation becomes unforgettable. The one who reacts blends into the noise. A Stoic understands the laws of cause and effect. You don't need to raise your voice to assert consequence. Distance itself is enough. Disrespect me once, and I withdraw access. Cross my boundary, and you lose my warmth. Every step away is a quiet message. You had something valuable, and now it's gone. The coldness of that realization lingers far longer than anger ever could. When you respond like this, people start to adjust before they offend. They anticipate your stillness. They remember the discomfort it brought. They begin to measure their words around you, not out of fear, but respect. And those who can't respect it, they fall away, revealing themselves as they truly are. Seneca once warned, "It is the quality rather than the quantity of one's relationships that matters." The same applies to respect. Those who stay after facing your boundaries are the ones worthy of your time. Those who disappear were never aligned with your values. Every boundary enforced refines your circle. So ask yourself, the last time someone disrespected you, did your response teach them or reassure them that it was safe to try again? What would have happened if instead of reacting, you simply withdrew your presence, calmly, decisively, without announcement? That's what Stoicism looks like in motion. Quiet control, Unbreakable discipline. The punishment, if we can even call it that, must speak louder than the offense, not in words, but in absence, not in fury, but in firmness. Let the world learn that crossing you carries a price, the loss of your peace, your warmth, your presence. Those who respect you will understand and value this. Those who don't were merely feeding off your leniency. Either way, clarity emerges, and clarity is freedom. So the next time you're tested, don't argue, don't explain, don't react. Respond with precision. Act like a mountain does to the storm, unmoved yet unforgettable, because true power doesn't shout. It remembers, it withdraws, and it leaves an impression no one dares to test twice. At this stage, picture yourself walking into a room where the air shifts before you speak. No introduction, no demand for attention, yet everyone feels it. That quiet command, that's presence. It isn't about posture or power in the loud sense. It's the silent authority that follows someone who knows who they are and never needs to prove it. Most people chase attention. The Stoic chases alignment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The same truth applies to power. You don't ask for respect. You embody it. Your every gesture, tone, and reaction tells the world what you tolerate and what you do not. This is where many lose their balance. They mistake loudness for influence. They think sharp words or dominance will command reverence, but strength that needs to announce itself isn't strength. It's insecurity dressed in armor. True power walks softly. It doesn't explain, it doesn't chase, it doesn't hurry. It just is. The Stoics called this apatheia, a state of unshakable control over one's emotions and impulses. You cultivate it not through speeches, but through steadiness. When someone mocks you, your calm reply, or your silence, becomes your statement. When someone disrespects you, your lack of reaction unsettles them more than anger ever could. People expect chaos. Give them composure instead, and you'll remind them who actually holds the ground. Imagine this. Someone interrupts you mid-sentence. In the past, you might have snapped back, raising your voice to reclaim space. But now, you pause. You look at them. You wait. That pause becomes the storm they didn't expect. The next time, they won't interrupt. They'll remember the discomfort of their own disrespect reflected back at them. Your image, your aura, is not decoration. It's the byproduct of discipline. The way you move, the steadiness in your eyes, the restraint in your tone, these are all quiet declarations of self-mastery. The world reads them before you speak. Over time, this consistency builds a wall of silent authority around you. People feel it. They adjust without being told to. Seneca said, "A man's character is his fate." Your reputation is simply your character made visible. It's not built in grand gestures, but in small consistencies. How you treat the waiter, how you react to provocation, how you hold yourself when no one is watching. Every action either reinforces your worth or weakens it. Stop explaining yourself. Stop chasing people's attention. The more you justify, the more you reveal uncertainty. If someone cancels plans, don't run after them. If someone disrespects you, don't argue for your value. A Stoic doesn't beg to be understood. He acts in accordance with his principles and lets the world adapt or fall away. Selectivity is a form of strength. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. When you give it too freely, people learn to take it for granted. When you protect it, they begin to treat it as sacred. Be deliberate about who gets your warmth, your time, your conversation. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? Apply that question not just to your actions, but to your interactions. Now look around your own life. How do people behave around you? Do they test your boundaries, or do they respect them before crossing? The answer tells you what you've been teaching them through your reactions, your tone, your silence. Presence is the echo of your consistency. It precedes you everywhere. When your presence becomes steady, something remarkable happens. Difficult people avoid you because you are no longer easy to manipulate. The opportunists, the critics, the ones who thrive on chaos, they quietly drift away. In their place come people of substance, drawn not to your charm, but to your integrity. You'll find that opportunities also change. When others know you move without noise, keep your word, and never break composure, they trust you. Respect opens doors far faster than performance ever could. But this image must be built deliberately. If one day you are calm and another you are reckless, the illusion breaks. The Stoic doesn't perform calm. He becomes calm. That's why presence isn't a trick. It's a reflection of your internal order. A man's reputation, like a shadow, moves ahead of him. When people mention your name, what image walks into the room before you? Do they nod with respect, or do they smirk, expecting inconsistency? Build your name until it becomes a quiet warning. This one doesn't play small. This one has standards. And understand this, you don't need to intimidate, you only need to be certain. People sense certainty the way animals sense storms. They feel it before they can define it. That's the energy you're cultivating, calm, focused, self-contained. Each time you walk away instead of arguing, each time you remain composed under pressure, each time you enforce a small boundary without apology, your presence grows. It becomes the unspoken signal that you are not to be trifled with. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." Every gesture, every pause, every moment of silence either strengthens or weakens that image. The more you live aligned with your principles, the less you need to announce them. So start observing yourself. The tone you use, the pace of your walk, the steadiness in your breath when others lose theirs. Ask yourself, does my presence request respect, or does it command it? Because when your composure becomes constant, when your standards never waver, your existence speaks louder than any introduction. Real power doesn't arrive with noise. It enters quietly, unshakable, steady, and unmistakably seen. At this stage, we enter the higher discipline, the point where you no longer take disrespect as a wound, but as a revelation. You stop feeling, "Why would they treat me this way?" and begin seeing it for what it is, information. At first, it stings, but soon you realize it's a gift in disguise. Every act of disrespect is a small confession, a moment when someone reveals more about themselves than they ever intended. What once insulted you now instructs you. What once hurt you now warns you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If anyone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change. But when someone disrespects you, they're not showing you truth, they're showing you their nature. That difference is everything." The Stoic doesn't absorb insult. He studies it. Imagine keeping a silent journal in your mind. Every time someone mocks your success, interrupts you, or belittles your worth, you take note, not in anger, but in awareness. The one who disrespects you when you rise, that's envy exposing itself. The one who only disrespects you when others aren't watching, that's cowardice. The one who challenges your boundaries, that's someone who once fed off your weakness. These are not attacks, they are signals. Small lights guiding you toward understanding who deserves space in your world. Picture this: a colleague who constantly cuts you off in meetings but never interrupts the boss. What does that tell you? It shows how they rank people in their silent hierarchy. A friend who jokes about your ambitions but stays quiet around those more successful, that's resentment wearing a smile. A family member who criticizes your choices but praises others for the same. That's jealousy in disguise. Every pattern you notice becomes armor, every observation a lesson in who is safe to trust. Seneca once said, "He who is wise is not hurt by insult, for he knows himself." The moment you stop taking disrespect personally, you reclaim power. You begin to see through the illusion that everyone deserves your understanding. You realize that how people treat you is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their limits. Their tone exposes their weakness. Their mockery exposes their insecurity. Their silence when you succeed exposes their envy. This awareness transforms you. You no longer waste energy reacting. You watch, you note, and you adjust. You stop trying to correct people and start collecting the truth about them. Disrespect becomes your teacher. The Stoics would call this discernment, the ability to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. And from that discernment comes freedom. You stop trying to make people like you and start placing them where they truly belong. Some closer, some farther. You begin to invest only in those whose respect is natural, not negotiated. The rest fade into the background where they always belonged. Think about it. People who mock you in small ways will harm you in greater ones if given the chance. Those who disregard minor boundaries will break major ones when convenient. That's not cynicism, it's realism, the kind the Stoics mastered. To observe calmly is not to judge, it's to protect. Here's the beauty of it. Once you treat disrespect as information, you become untouchable. You no longer carry offense because you see its purpose. When someone disrespects you, you think, "Thank you for revealing yourself early." Their actions become data, not damage. Their tone becomes clarity, not chaos. And in that shift, you harden without becoming hard. You stay kind, but no longer naive. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, when someone does wrong, it's because they do not know what is right. So don't take their behavior as insult, take it as exposure. They are telling you who they are. Believe them. Soon, a pattern emerges. You start to notice that those who truly respect you are calm, measured, and consistent. Those who do not are erratic, dismissive, and self-serving. And as you quietly apply this awareness, your circle changes. The loud ones fade, the loyal ones remain. Your peace deepens. Every act of disrespect you endure becomes a filter, separating the worthy from the hollow. And with each filter, your life becomes lighter, sharper, freer. So when someone disrespects you, do not ask, "Why me?" Ask instead, "What does this reveal?" Because once you see the truth behind every gesture, you stop being wounded by it. You start being guided by it. That is the higher discipline, to see every slight as proof, every insult as instruction, and through that clarity, to become unbreakable. Stay strong. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom.